Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations with Simon today. And we're going to be talking about Saturn direct, and this is going to be taking place for us on the 6th of September 2018. And it's going to be a big cycle for us, I think. There's been a tremendous amount of changes that have been taking place internally for us since Saturn went retrograde in the earlier parts of this year. And there's been a lot of adjustment, a lot of rectification, reorientation. And when I look at the Saturn direct motion, a lot of us are going to feel this release of waiting to get going, to reestablish new patterns within your life, to begin making the progress in an outward way and allowing ourselves to actually fully embody what this work has been like since Saturn's been retrograde. So before I jump into talking more about it, of course it's important to just recognize that Saturn is in Capricorn at the moment, and it will turn direct at 2 degrees Capricorn, right? And by the end of this year, Saturn will move to 11 degrees, okay? So for any of you, well, firstly, what you want to do is you want to go to your astrology chart and you want to go and identify where Saturn is landing in your chart, right? So the purpose of this video is for us to interact with our own awareness. And the way that we do that is we identify where Saturn is in our chart. So get your charts out, get that information. If you know where it is, fantastic. Then look at what is happening for you. Do you have any planets between 2 degrees and 11 degrees Capricorn, right? And ask yourself the question, what types of dynamics have been taking place in your life that you can see Saturn retrograde has been supporting, okay? And the key word in this conversation is support. Right. Once you take a look at this, get familiar with what it is that's been happening for yourself, all right? And then recognize that as Saturn turns direct for us, what we're going to do, like all of us are going to experience, and including those if they've specifically got planets over there, like your sun sign or Venus or anything, right? This is going to be a time where a lot of emotional growth is going to take place for you, okay? So Saturn, as the archetype within psychology, within the nature of the human experience, it reflects to us, how do we grow? That's why I chose that picture there to display the artwork about this energy, the capturing, right? Let's have a look. Let's just wait for it. Okay, there. Now the picture is completely restart, and you can see that the flowers are breaking through their chrysalis, they're breaking through the mold, and eventually at the end of the cycle you can see that the flowers have been completely bloomed, right? Here we go again with the picture. Can you see how the red part is protecting the flower? That is what Saturn is. It's the form that supports our evolutionary growth, right? The understanding of Uranus is what that unique expression looks like, okay? So for this flower that you see here, right, it has white petals, it has this little orange tint on the top of these little stalks that are coming out the middle, and the timing, right? That's the Uranian component. The color of the flowers are white, like I said, with the red shell that was keeping it safe, during its gestation time. Right? You can see that there's lots of flowers that bloom together very closely. They spaced out and then they bloom together. That is the Uranian component. The Saturn component that you're watching is the cycle from birth, as you can see here, breaking, coming out, expanding, opening up, right? That's Saturn. For us, it's our emotional development as we come out of the shell of our youth into the middle age of our life and then flourish, the Chiron return. So where Saturn sits in our chart, it's reflecting to us where we are now in the stage of growth. So for all of us, we're all growing regarding our emotional development, right? And then for those of you that have got planets there, just add those archetypes. So if it's Venus, right, you're like maturing in the way that you relate to yourself and other people. If it's the sun, it's, this could be a bit of a difficult transit because it's Saturn on top of the sun, being about your vitality. You need to structure, you need to organize, you need to recognize the cycle of growth for you around creative expression. For some of you that have got Saturn conjunct Uranus, this is the time where you're really, really going to get clear on the subconscious memories that you've repressed in prior lifetimes and what type of dynamics have played out in earlier memories that you weren't able to process, that now you need to begin to process, right? Uranus, subconscious memories in the human experience. So for us, this emotional work that we're dealing with within Saturn has many layers to it, right? The first thing is that because this is the first the first retrograde that Saturn's gone in Capricorn, we are breaking down the previous cycle of crystallized definition. We are breaking down, Saturn retrograde, the previous cycle, the last time Saturn was in Capricorn, of crystallized definition, i.e. what we crystallized when Saturn was in Capricorn 28 years ago, yeah? So we have to break that down first. Now that has come to a sort of breaking down, and we felt it so intensely because Saturn is all about, the bridge. It's all about how we protect ourselves as well. What's the boundaries we put around to make us feel safe, right? That has now been reshaped. It was really, really difficult for a lot of us. We felt like fear, like where am I going? What's things are being redefined in my life. Now that Saturn's direct, it's going to move across in Capricorn, and it's going to begin helping us lay the foundation for where we are right now versus where we were 28 years ago. Yeah? As a collective and individually. So this next cycle from Saturn will be in Capricorn. It is now. It will go up to 11 degrees by the end of this year. And then Saturn will reach 20 degrees Capricorn before it goes retrograde on the 30th of April next year. Okay? That dynamic of from 2 degrees up until 20 degrees is going to firstly bring us into a really, really deep state of, this is the structure of my life, right? This is the way I want to carve the boundaries that are going to support my creative individuation process, my experience of life. So that flower, that picture of the flower over there this is the time where we're going to begin to bloom, right? Saturn direct, we're going to begin to bloom. And right now, between now and the 6th, of course, it's important to get some rest. Okay, it's important to just like gather your stuff together. I think an example that I could give to make it more specific is in Sweden right now, well, actually mostly all over the world, but the timing is different. But in Sweden right now, there's a transition between where it was very hot and summery to, okay, now we're going to start going into autumn. Okay. And, you go outside and you prepare the certain things, you begin to take away all of your summer stuff, you pack it into the garage or the farroad that they call it over here, into a place of protection. You begin to recognize, okay, it's now time to take out some jerseys or some jumpers and stuff. And you begin to prepare for the next coming season, Saturn. And this is what this is about. It's about between now and the 6th, just start preparing yourself for the next coming season. Because as soon as Saturn goes direct, it's going to say, okay, let's do this, let's go. And for me, I'm really excited about it because I've spent the whole entire summer rebuilding the whole entire astrology school. I've created the foundation class school, the intermediates and the advanced, and these are all going to be, purchasable recordings. And it really, really brings me a lot of joy because as I created space for that, I can then go ahead and start doing a new creative project. And I've created that space for me, right? And for you that wants to learn astrology, now you can just come over to the website and say, okay, today I want to learn the first module of astrology, and you do that. And the point here is that each of us are preparing and restructuring and getting ourselves ready for what the next part of, or the next phase of our evolutionary development is going to take place. So this is the flowering of our time. All right. So I hope that you got something out of today's conversation. Of course, as time goes along, I'll bring more insights into what Saturn, direct is going to do for us, and how we can be integrating into this. There's one thing that I did want to say though, that I found really interesting. I haven't fully grounded it yet, but at some point I will be able to, start sharing these insights. And it has to do with Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, and Jupiter in Capricorn, and the South Node transiting Capricorn as well, which of course this is all going to happen from next year up until the end of this year up until 2020. And something I want you guys to contemplate, okay? How has the actions of our forefathers brought about the inheritance of what we need to deal with with reality today? How has the actions and choices of our ancestors, or the people that were, of the 1920s and what they decided reality to be, and, going back to the 1950s and even going earlier, how have the actions of the past brought about the reality that we today have inherited, that we are now working with? Okay. A simple example that I can give you. I grew up in South Africa. My original nationality was South African. And in South Africa in the 60s, there was a deep, deep oppression, Capricorn, right, around apartheid. Now, South Africa today is still dealing with a lot of the emotional repression that took place then. And the kids that are growing up in the world right now are inheriting the karma of those actions then. And this is not exclusive to South Africa. This is all over the world, right? So this is to everybody. Every one of you that's watching this video is born in a time where the inherited actions of the past have brought the reality that we're dealing with right now, including the way that we have reached a point in our existence where fossil fuels are essentially needing to become outdated. We don't need it anymore. Our awareness has reached a point where we can start accessing different forms of energy to support ourselves. These are all Capricorn and Saturn and Pluto and South Node and Jupiter types of conversations to have. So I'm still tuning into it a bit more deeper. I'm still getting myself inspired around those types of dynamics, and at some point I'm sure I'd be sharing a talk on that. All right, my friends, thanks very much for listening. Have a wonderful week. If you would like to do a reading with me, you know what to do. You just contact me and just say to me, hey, Simon, I want to book a reading with yourself, and I'd be happy to set one up. Other than that, have a wonderful week. Take care, everybody. Bye.